Hi there, welcome to my video. Today I'm going to walk you through a mixed media process on some mixed media paper. It's 140 pounds that I'm using, and these are just some jelly prints that I printed out that I'm going to be using in the process. I do use satin medium to adhere my papers to the main substrate, and it's just a lot easier and it works so much better than a glue stick or just kind of art glue. I do put a layer on top as well because it provides a barrier between the paper and other layers that I put on top of it so that the paper doesn't buckle. So these are all jelly prints that I made. This one, you could see I made it on scrapbook paper. I use all different papers to get different thicknesses, and it definitely gives a different result as well from the paints. So I'm just kind of having fun with all the different colors and different prints and designs. I did feel a little challenged with this one in the middle. I'm sure you'll see because I used so many different colors and patterns. So it did kind of present a little bit of a challenge to make everything kind of come together cohesively, but that's part of the fun and part of the process. So just putting some papers down, and then on top of that, I like to start putting down some stencils, some marks just to push some of the papers into the background or just start creating layers for interest. So this is a simple stencil I'm using. I did use the finger dauber, but it wasn't working great. I realized it was wet, so I went to the paintbrush, and now I'm back to the different finger dauber. So supplies are a big deal. You have to kind of know how they work, what you can do with them, and if they're going to provide the mark that you really want. So I'm just kind of having fun with this. I did blend some fuchsia, fluorescent pink and some titanium white, and I think I added a little Naples yellow to it, just to kind of give a little bit more of a salmon color. And then I added a little more pink to get this pinkish color. And there's not any real rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. I'm just kind of putting the stencils everywhere and creating marks that I may use later or I may just cover up. That's part of the fun. So here's the light turquoise, and I'm blending that with just a little bit of titanium white, just so it's not quite so bright. And one of my favorite things to do is to add a little water to create some drips. Just kind of drips down the page and gives a little line or interest. This is one of my favorite colors that I found. It's called Naples Yellow Red Light. It's quite a title, but it really combines beautifully with things. It's almost like a creamy pinkish yellow, but it really, when you blend it with other colors, it just creates like a really nice, gentle shade. So I'm just trying to kind of create a little bit more of a neutral background while also letting some of these papers show through. I think that's part of the challenge when you use very bright, distracting papers. Later on, you want to create some focal points that don't always involve papers. But that's part of the fun and part of the process. So again, just using a stencil to kind of bring in some marks. And this is part of my process. I have a little framework that I use that may be helpful to you. I do have a video about that, how to kind of create your own, that I will put up in the corner here. It's just all about like creating a way to make your own pieces and have like your own method so that if you do feel like you get stuck, you can kind of go back to your method and keep moving. Because I think sometimes we get stuck in some area and then it becomes too precious and then we end up not finishing. So this is fluorescent pink with some flesh color. Kind of takes the crazy brightness out of the pink and just making some marks on top, a little pattern of bubbles. So I wanted to introduce some color back in that could kind of be a theme running throughout. There is that pink in that corner and then just a little light pink throughout. So again, the drips, I love the drips. You can always wipe off the drips if you don't like them, but I tend to like them. So I knew I was going to put something in the middle there. I just wanted to create or keep a little space there to do it. So these are all jelly prints that I made on deli paper. And the reason I love using deli paper is because it's so transparent, but also creates some color or a pattern where you may want to add a little. So I'm just trying to introduce a little of the pink in the corner to kind of bring the piece together. And then this area, I just felt like it was kind of boring and not really doing anything for me. So I wanted to put a little bit of a green color down, but I didn't want it to be totally on top. So that's something I deal with later on. Just some more deli paper here. These prints. And this is the focal point that I printed out. I printed this on my inkjet printer. It is just a cute little crab. I did this for my son. He loves fishing and kind of reminded me of him. We're going to be going crabbing soon. So I am careful. I do adhere it with the satin medium, but you have to be careful on top, especially with inkjet, because it can run. I did put a clear coat of a fixative on top of it, but it doesn't make it totally permanent, so you just still have to be careful. So just adding a little more of that paper to kind of bring it to the edge. And then I'm adding more of that kind of creamy color that I love and just pushing it a little into the background because it was sitting on the top a little too much. So just blending it in a little so it's part of the piece, but not screaming, hey, here I am sitting on top. And then this is kind of towards the end what I like to do, adding some marks and using this Posca paint marker to bring out some of the background so that things aren't in a real obvious order. These paint markers are so versatile and really just an important part of my supplies. Have them in a lot of colors. They're so much fun to use. And if you don't like what you put down, you can always just wipe it off right away. It really is so easy to use. It's acrylic paint, but you can wipe it off real quick if you don't like it. So a lot of this stuff I do, I kind of make some marks, kind of step away, then go back, make some more marks. I think it's hard to sit down and make a full piece of art in one sitting because you need a little perspective on what you're creating, and what you like now may not be what you like later. So I always try to give myself a little room to take in what I create and then go back and say, do I really like it? Or was it just because I was rushing? Or is that how I want things to look? So this is my last layer of really just putting in some marks and trying to bring it all together. So I did put some more line work when I didn't record by accident. I did put a little layer of a border around, and then I created this kind of circular pattern just to draw some interest to the crab without being really obvious. It's on deli paper, very easy to do. I did it with a Posca paint pen. And then I'm just putting it down right around the crab. Can get a little tricky because that paper is very fragile. So just try to work quickly and not get too fussy about it. So there it is. All the little details, you can kind of see the background and all the different layers and the marks. Just a really fun piece to make today. Thank you so much for watching. It was a lot of fun to have you here. If you're interested in this type of artwork, you can follow along with 2 other tutorials right here for you. And I hope to see you again soon. Thanks so much for being here.